got trapped in the back rooms of an airport for 5 hours. That's right, 5 full hours we were trapped in the actual back rooms. Like, you might not think the back rooms actually exist in the real world. You're wrong, they do. I was there. What's up everybody, D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today I will be sharing with you my first adventure from Anime Matsuri 2023. Or at least I would if the adventure was able to begin, because as you're about to find out, that was actually a lot more difficult than it should have been. These are some of my adventures from Thursday, August 10th, 2023 as I was heading to Anime Matsuri. Big thank you to Anime Matsuri for making this video possible. Big thank you to them for bringing me and my cameramen, Dalton and Kyle, out to Anime Matsuri. I really appreciate it. I always appreciate it, and it's so much fun. Anime Matsuri 2023 was an awesome time, and I cannot wait to begin to share this adventure with you because I had so much fun there, and there were so many crazy things we did when we were there. But in order for that to begin, we first had to get there, which was apparently a really big challenge. So let me take you back in time to Thursday, August 10th, 2023. The night before Anime Matsuri, I tried to crack down on making videos. At this point in time, I was trying to maintain my channel's health. I was actually posting every couple days, so I needed to make sure things were healthy when I was out of town. And I actually did a pretty okay job at that, all things considered. I had some bigger uploads scheduled for when I was at the convention, so my channel did do very well while I was gone this year. But this challenge was a little more difficult than it usually is, and I'll tell you why here in a second. So anyways, the night before I was cracking down, making sure that everything was prepped for the next day. I made sure that I had all my prep work done, so I had questions for the Kaylee Huddle panel, which I got to host, and questions for Shinji Nishikawa and his panel, which I got to host. Both things were awesome, and at least I wasn't as freaked out about hosting panels this time. I was very excited about it. I also had to break out some new film gear, make sure things were working well. I bought a second microphone because one of my first microphones kind of got a little broken, or at least I thought at the time. And I thought one new microphone will be good. Surely nothing will go wrong, and surely I won't have needed two. That definitely won't happen. Did you like the foreshadowing there? So the morning of August 10th, I was supposed to get ready and get up and get going. What I'm trying to say is that while Kyle and Dalton were doing this,
because last time we went to Anime Matsuri, you become a full-on anime expert and watched them all, right?
Every single anime ever and every single manga has been now read.
That's good, because I'm going to need to know who all of the cosplay characters are. So I'm going to need you to help me out with that.
I was trying desperately to schedule all of my uploads, make sure everything was good to go, thumbnails, all that stuff, because I was incredibly stressed. And actually, for once, it wasn't because I was heading to Anime Matsuri, it was because I was going directly from Anime Matsuri to Japan World Heroes, which means I didn't need just one weekend's worth of uploads. I needed 2 full weeks worth of passive uploads that could be going out while I was gone, and trying to get 2 weeks worth of stuff done was killing me. Kyle and Dalton finally arrived to pick me up, so naturally I whipped out the bazooka and blasted Kyle directly in the face.
That was a headshot.
And then the adventure began. We were 40 minutes behind because I was, uploading. And then we got to the airport, we had some breakfast, and started to debate Civil War.
Oh, and we debated the politics of Civil War again, so the trip has begun.
And I raised new points that swayed the argument to my favor.
That's where the clip ends, and I would like to clarify we were debating Captain America Civil War. I'm, of course, Team Iron Man, and he's Team Cap, so we were debating that. Not the real Civil War. Any real Civil War. Or the movie Civil War. It was specifically Captain America Civil War. The flight was a nice and breezy one. If only the rest of the trip was the same. The only real issue was that the flight didn't actually begin when it was supposed to. We were 40 minutes behind because they needed to refuel the plane before we took off, so there was a delay going into things. I just kind of vibed and listened to some music on the flight and got some sleep in because I was very tired. Now it was upon landing that everything started to go wrong.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Houston. Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the aircraft parked at the gate and the fasten seatbelt sign is turned off.
First of all, I've never seen a plane blast you with steam before, but that's exactly what happened when we landed due to the humidity difference, which is funny because that's exactly what happens in the first episode of Monarch Legacy of Monsters as well, which I believe at this point I had just watched, so I'm pretty sure. That wasn't actually an issue. What was an issue is that upon landing, the plane actually couldn't get to its docking bay, or that's what we were told. We weren't able to get to the docking bay we were supposed to go to because someone was in their spot. I later found out that's not the case. We flew Frontier. Against my warnings, I didn't want that, but that's what Kyle wanted, so we did it. It turns out when you fly to Texas, when you fly to the old George Bush Intercontinental Airport, Frontier apparently does this thing where they just don't put you where they're supposed to. This was a major issue, it turned out.
I'm fed up with this world.
We got dropped off in the backside of the airport, which felt a little strange because after getting off and walking into the halls, I pointed out how similar this side of the airport was to the international drop-off in Canada when I flew to Calgary a couple weeks before and went through customs.
Derek, where are we at?
No, this isn't the right terminal, you idiot. We made it to Houston. We made it to Houston, we did. Does it look like I'm running backwards? Whoa!
After a very confusing period of trying to figure out which of these hallways we were supposed to go down, which was the right way to go to get where we needed to go to get the baggage claim, we were literally heading one way. We would be told by these workers, this is the wrong way, so we'd head back a different way. We'd be told by different workers, no, that was the right way, so we would turn around. And after turning around like 2 or 3 times, we finally made it to customs.
Here it is, boys. We made it to the USA.
Yes! America!
We did it.
Alongside many people from our plane. Do you see the issue here?
All the signs say baggage claim is that way, but that's where customs is, and we don't have passports because, you know, we didn't leave the country.
Pretty much I'm never gonna fly Frontier again.
We were flying domestic from the US to the US. We didn't have our passports on us, and so we had no ability to actually get through customs. So we were sent back, wandering around the opposite end of the airport, where we wound up in what was essentially like an office building, like just straight up some boardrooms, like you'd see in an office building, and we had no idea how to get to where we were needing to go until a loud crowd pulled our attention. A loud sound was growing, and we could hear all these fuzzy people, and we thought, might as well go check out what that's about.
Okay, wait, now what is all this?
Oh boy.
So we did, and we followed the noise to find basically our entire plane's worth of people crammed into these 2 metal doors, screaming, trying to be let through. It was this hallway just filled with an entire plane's worth of angry people, pissed off that they were late to fly and late to land, and now didn't know where they were supposed to be going. The doors that were separating the domestic and international side of the airports had these workers who didn't have authorization to let us through, who were like trying desperately to control the crowd. Turns out they actually couldn't have even let us through if they wanted to. They didn't have keys to get through the doors. Someone from the other side needed to do that, and no one was willing to because we're a bunch of people on the international side trying to get to the domestic side without our passports. By the time all of this was done and someone let us through, it was very chaotic and people were like on the verge of rioting already. We were already worried that our bags might have just straight up been missing, like someone might have taken them because they were at the baggage claim for so long. The only issue is we didn't even know how to begin to get to where the baggage claim was. Were our bags, were they originally going to be dropped off, or are they at one of the terminals in the international baggage claim, or are they at the terminal the plane told us to head to, which was a different terminal altogether? It was a big frenzy of us trying to figure out where to go, and we kept asking people that would point us to different directions. We'd go, we'd find the carousel, it would not be our bags, so we just kept getting shuffled around for a while, and eventually we made it to this weird hallway that kind of reminded me of a bowling alley or like a children's birthday party place, and so we headed that direction, and that's when we bumped into our friendly soldier friend, just a random soldier guy who was very nice. He was on the plane with us. He was actually up for a promotion and desperately needed his bags because he needed to get somewhere within a few hours. And he gave us confirmation on where our bags were actually heading. They were heading to the complete other side of the airport. So it took us ages to figure out which baggage claim to even get to in the first place, but now we knew where we were headed, so we were going there. As we learned, the complete opposite end of the airport isn't just an easy breezy walk. Like, this airport is enormous from how you'd think it is. It's way bigger than you'd think. So we were on the wrong side, and the only way to get where we were going was to head into the back rooms. That's right, these creepy little back rooms that are actually real and exist underneath the airport. This subterranean tunnel network of strange liminal rooms that you feel like you're gonna be murdered in. Imagine an old bowling alley birthday party place mixed with a hobbyist train set that's been enlarged to human scale but doesn't quite work the way it should, all cramped into these tiny little hallways that go on forever. That's what we were in. The mini train thing had literally just left as we got there, so we decided to hike to the next drop-off point so that it could just pick us up there as we were already heading in the direction we needed to go, and it seemed like the trains only ran every like 20 or so minutes. Along the way, our soldier soldier friend wound up coming sprinting right past us from behind. He was trying to get there, and so he was just running. We tried to run to keep up with him, but we had too many bags, too much gear. He had nothing on him, and he's a soldier, so he was easily able to outpace us. What we didn't quite realize was that it's literally a 40-minute walk minimum from one side of the airport to the next. During the time Kyle was looking that up to find out how long it would even take us to get to the airport, Dalton was getting calls about our ride and trying to figure out what was happening with our ride, where we were going to be picked up and all that stuff. And so we finally made it to the next train pickup point and decided to just wait for the thing to show up. The dinky thing did come barely chugging along, and we did get on it. It was moving so slow that we were almost able to keep up with it when we were running, and so it really wasn't a big improvement from how things were before. We finally made it through the back rooms, super worried that our bags had been stolen or would be missing, only to discover an enormous crowd. By this point, it had been over 2 hours since we touched down on the runway and landed, and we still didn't know where our bags were, and it turns out they still hadn't made it out of the plane. I could just keep saying it turns out because there's a lot of big reveals coming your way. Actually, 2 other planes' bags hadn't made it out either. Those planes had landed before ours. So I tried to figure out what was going on. I was talking to all sorts of different people who worked in baggage claim, people who worked for United, people who worked for other airlines, and all of them had one thing in common. They all warned about how awful Frontier is.
We made it, only to find nothing for the past over 2 hours.
Honestly, it's whatever. It is what it is.
But we did see, we saw that fish tank area. We saw it had bowling floor and fish on the walls and cool lights. So this whole trip has been totally worth it. So
people were screaming and shouting and getting physically violent with the Frontier workers, which I don't condone, but it was really escalating. Armed police were showing up, security was showing up to do riot control.
I think what I've learned here today on this adventure, I'd rather get stuck leaving the airport than trying to leave the airport. Frontier, you're the worst thing to happen. I can hear people yelling. We're like 5 hours late. We were supposed to leave this airport like 3+ hours ago. Shout out to the nice ladies over at Delta for talking shit about Frontier with me. Shout out to this cow for loving his state and being a patriot and an astronaut and overall just a true American hero. And shout out Subway, where we're probably gonna get dinner because getting close to 8 o'clock.
The explanation they gave us was that they couldn't figure out how to turn the plane off, and so they couldn't get the bags out. I don't know how easy it is to turn a plane off, but surely somebody who works at an airport would know how to turn a plane off. The plane was apparently just left abandoned by the pilots. They just straight up left without turning the thing off, and they couldn't get the bags out because if they tried, the jet engines would suck the workers in and obliterate them. So we were stuck waiting for the plane to just turn off on its own. It's a good thing it refueled right before we took off. As for the other 2 planes waiting for their bags, I actually have no idea. Neither one was Frontier, but there was another Frontier plane at a different carousel which was also waiting on its bags. One of the planes at the carousel we were at, their plane had landed like hours before ours landed, and their bags got there minutes before our bags got there. Meanwhile, the other plane had landed about an hour before our plane landed, and we actually got our bags first. So by this point, I was getting super upset because all I wanted was to be a part of the Thursday part of the convention. I really like going to Anime Matsuri, and I was really upset that I'm missing an entire day's worth of it. Unfortunately, Anime Matsuri was not able to set me up with a room for Wednesday like I had in 2019 and 2021. It's actually the same situation I'm going to be in this year when I go in 2024. By the way, I'll be going, so come say hi. That'll be at the start of August. Please come say hi. That'll be awesome. I was upset because I didn't get to see them set up the Godzilla store like I did in 2021, and I was really excited to be a part of the Thursday festivities. I love that stuff, man. So I went upstairs. I was kind of walking around this main waiting lobby, and I didn't know what to do. So I got Subway for lunch. By this point, it was nighttime, but I was just getting lunch. We still hadn't eaten lunch yet. I got lunch at Subway. The boys came up to join me one at a time. I also bought the Life magazine King Kong edition, which actually marks my first purchase for the convention. This was my first part of my convention haul. Pretty cool thing to stumble across in a Subway. After 5 full hours of waiting at the airport, our bags finally arrived. We headed out, and our hero, our friend, Brandon, was able to pick us up, rescue us from from the airport. Here's the thing. Brandon was supposed to get us from the airport 5 hours ago, but he's such a nice guy. He didn't want to go far from the airport. He was worried that we would get our stuff at any minute, and so we'd be ready to go and he wouldn't be ready to pick us up, that he wound up sitting at the airport for 5 hours waiting for us. The dude was just sitting there doing nothing. Thank you, Brandon. Like, I don't know why you did that, but thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm so sorry that that happened.
It's so hot.
By the time Brandon got us, it was already getting dark out, but at least I got some beautiful shots on the drive to the George R. Brown Convention Center.
Videos that are like road trip driving.
Oh yeah.
A knoll like the lizard?
The grassy knoll.
You gotta wait a year for my wine mix.
Caught him at the right time, huh?
But I'm flying the dogs. The feet are there. I really want to go there. Don't date look at the sky. There's Minute Maid.
Again, shout out Brandon, and shout out Brandon for becoming a reoccurring character, because he went to Anime Matsuri just to support me and to see what was going on at the convention, and so he will be showing back up.
Would you say that the YouTube famous D-Man 1954 is what brought you to the convention?
I would say that.
Would you say that the only reason that your money went to the Anime Matsuri Corporation is because of D-Man 1954?
If they put anything in, like, if they have any like post convention surveys or anything, I'm gonna put that's the only thing that I came for. Just that panel. I don't even know if one exists on Saturday. Does one exist on Saturday?
One does exist
Walk
on
up to
Saturday.
walk up to every last vendor in the entire place and tell them that you're here for D-Man.
Yeah, have you ever
Where's
seen
D-Man?
D-Man? Have you seen D-Man?
After a brutal adventure, we finally made it to the hotel, the Hilton Americas Houston, and it felt like we were home for the first time in a while. It was like all of the sudden, the stress had just started to kind of die off. I started to feel way more relaxed. And that was until we had a little hiccup at registration. There was a slight problem. Our hotel room didn't exist. Luckily, this didn't take long to sort out, but our hotel room didn't exist. They didn't have one for me. They just didn't have one. At first, I was worried that maybe Anime Matsuri forgot to book me one, which was going to be a kind of a problem, but it turned out that wasn't really the issue. I got some help from Brian Huang? I'm really bad with names. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. But he was our manager, our point of contact person for this convention. Big thank you to Brian for helping us out. And I got some help from my buddy returning from Anime Matsuri 2021, Amber. I really hope Amber's back this year. She's so awesome. Amber, my manager from 2021, that's what I call her, and that's what I'm going to continue to call her, was to the rescue. And she helped me out a ton this convention as well. Big thank you, Amber. Like I said, I really hope she's there this year because I would love to hang out again. This is what we found out. It turns out that the Critical Drinker, another YouTuber who was going to the convention, had accidentally booked himself into my hotel room. I don't know how he did it. Apparently he had accidentally booked my hotel room or gotten my hotel room or something. And so we wound up getting his room instead, or maybe it was just that he wound up accidentally getting my registration or something. And so they had to like figure out a new way to get us ours. Either way, it was sorted out. It was actually sorted out really fast and easy. And we got our badges and we got our hotel pass, and it was time to head to the room.
Yahoo!
Boys,
We made it.
We did it.
That's all that matters.
is it safe to say the boys are back in
Oh
town?
my god, it's so safe to say that, dude.
I was super easy to get to the convention hall and to see how things were progressing, see how they were setting up. I wanted so badly to get footage of them setting up the Godzilla store like I did in 2021, because I'm really proud of that Godzilla store documentary I made in 2021. And I was so frantic to get down to the old GRB convention center that I was just bouncing up and down ready to go. So after a few moments of regrouping and figuring out what the next plan was, that's exactly what we did. It was time to hit the convention officially and to have some nighttime festivities, because I've never partaken in the Thursday night festival before, and it was time to do that. And that is where I will leave you for this one. It is time to officially begin the proper journey now that we've made it. Again, big thank you to Anime Matsuri for making this possible. Big thank you to Frontier for wasting an entire day of mine and making sure that I couldn't get all the juicy footage that I wanted to get. I really appreciate Frontier being a horrible airline that I will never fly again. And big thank you to you guys, all the patrons over on Patreon. I really appreciate all the support I get on the Patreon. It is through the support of the patrons that I'm able to make videos in the first place. If you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below, where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out.